Hello, my amazing learners, and welcome back to the Wisdom English podcast. My name is Sarah, and today, I want to share with you the foundational habits and simple truths I've learned over years of teaching and from my own personal journey with English. Fluency in English is something many people want, a goal that can sometimes feel distant and overwhelming. I remember when I was a young student, much like you, I desperately wanted to speak English well. I wanted to be fluent. But I was shy, and my fear of making mistakes often kept me silent. One day, a kind teacher said something to me that I've never forgotten. "Sarah, you can be fluent if you simply practice every day." That one sentence changed my life because it made fluency feel achievable. It wasn't some magic talent I had to be born with. It was a result of consistent effort. When you want something, you must work for it. Fluency does not come in one day. It is like planting a tree. You don't get a giant oak overnight. It starts with a single, small seed, your decision to learn. You plant that seed in the soil of your daily routine. Every day, you must water it with consistent practice, even if it's just for a little. You must give it the sunshine of a positive attitude. Some days there will be storms of frustration, other days there will be droughts where you feel no progress is being made. But if you continue to care for it, to nurture it, one day you will look up and see that this small seed has grown into a big, strong tree with deep roots. That is what your fluency will be like, strong, steady, and alive. And make sure you listen until the very end, because I'll be sharing the single biggest secret that truly unlocks sustainable progress. I remember a student, let's call her Maria, who came to me one day looking utterly defeated. Her eyes were filled with frustration. She said, "Teacher, I want to speak English so badly, but when I try, my mind is a blank slate. I forget everything." I smiled warmly and told her something that I want to tell you now. Maria, do not worry. Fluency is not a memory test. It is not about remembering every single word in the dictionary. It is about the courage to practice with the words you do have. She looked at me with a glimmer of hope in her eyes and asked, "But how can I practice?" I told her, practice is everywhere. It is in every moment of your day. You can practice by talking to your friends, by listening to stories that capture your imagination, by singing along to your favorite songs. Every moment is an opportunity. I remember when I was in school, I absolutely loved stories. I would listen to them every night. My teacher would read to us from a book, her voice bringing the characters to life, and I would hang on every word. After she finished a sentence, I would quietly repeat the words to myself. At first, I was slow, and my pronunciation was clumsy. But with time, as I continued this simple habit night after night, I became faster and more confident. I learned new words, not from a list, but from the heart of a story, and my confidence grew with each chapter. A different student once asked me, "Teacher, is fluency only about speaking fast?" I told him, "No, that's a common misconception. Fluency is about speaking clearly. It is about making others understand your thoughts and feelings. You do not have to speak quickly. In fact, sometimes speaking too fast can make you harder to understand. You have to speak with confidence." There was once a boy in my class who was so eager to show how much he knew that the words would tumble out in a rush. He spoke very fast, but no one could ever understand him, which only made him More anxious. I gently told him, slow down. Take a breath. Speak clearly. Use simple words first, and let your message shine through. He listened to this advice. The next time he spoke, he was deliberate and clear. And for the first time, the entire class understood him, and a real smile of relief and pride spread across his face. He became more confident and started to truly enjoy speaking in English. Fluency is like a journey on a long and beautiful road. You take one step at a time. You do not rush. You look around, you enjoy the process, and one day, you look back. And you are amazed at how far you have come. I have seen so many students who were terrified to speak at first, paralyzed by fear. But with time, and with gentle, consistent practice, they all became fluent. There is a secret to gaining fluency. But it is a simple secret. The secret is to listen. Really listen. Listen to others speak English. Listen to stories. Listen to songs. Listen to conversations around you. The more you listen, the more you learn. I once knew a girl who adored music. She would listen to English songs every single day, not as a chore, but for the pure joy of it. She printed out the lyrics and sang along. Soon, her fluency improved dramatically because she was constantly listening and repeating, absorbing the rhythm and flow of the language naturally. Moving on to another powerful strategy. You must change your relationship with mistakes. Mistakes are our best teachers. I remember a student who was so deeply afraid of making mistakes. She would not speak in class because she thought her classmates would laugh at her. I told her, "Please, do not worry about mistakes. Every single mistake is a lesson in disguise. It is a sign that you are brave enough to try." One day, she gathered her courage and decided to speak in class. She made many mistakes, but she did not stop. She kept speaking. After a while, she became so much better. She later told me, "Teacher, I am not afraid anymore." That was the very day she truly started to become fluent. Fluency is also about thinking in English. When you think in English, you start to speak more naturally and spontaneously. I once had a student who would meticulously translate every single sentence from his native language into English in his head. This made him incredibly slow and often confused, because sentence structures are different across languages. I told him, "Try to think in English. Even when you are alone, narrate your world in English." He started doing this while walking to school, thinking, "I see a blue car. The sun is shining." He tried this simple exercise, and slowly, he became more fluent. Furthermore, there was another student who loved to talk. He was passionate and had many ideas. But he had a problem. He would start a sentence in English, and then, when he got stuck on a word, he would immediately switch to his native language to finish the thought. I told him, "Try to stay in English. Even if you don't know a word, don't give up. Try to explain it in English using other words you know. For example, if you forget the word a telescope, you can say, the thing you use to look at the stars." This helped him stay focused, and soon he was speaking only in English. Let's shift our focus now to reading, another powerful way to gain fluency. When you read, you see how sentences are correctly formed. You learn new words in a natural context. I remember when I was learning English, I would read simple books. Every time I found a new word, I would write it down in a special notebook. Then I would try to use it in a sentence later that day. This simple practice helped me remember the words and use them when I spoke. One day, a student came to me with a book, looking frustrated. She said, "Teacher, I read this book, but I did not understand everything." I told her, that is perfectly okay. The goal is not 100% understanding it first. The goal is exposure. The more you read, the more you will understand. She continued to read every day. After some time, she came to me with a bright smile and said, "Now I understand much more." Her fluency improved because she was reading and learning new things every single day. What's more, fluency is also about listening to yourself. Sometimes, you need to record yourself speaking and then listen back to it. See where you can improve. I once had a student who did this every day. She would record herself reading a short story. Then, she would listen to the recording and find areas where her pronunciation could be clearer or her rhythm could be smoother. This practice made her more aware of her own speech, and soon, she became remarkably fluent. Practicing with a friend is another great way to gain fluency. I had two students who were best friends. They made a pact, a promise to each other. They decided to speak only in English with each other every day. They would have conversations in English, helping each other with words they didn't know. Over time, both of them became very fluent. They learned from each other, and they truly enjoyed the process because they were doing it together. Beyond that, fluency also comes from using the language in real-life situations. Don't wait for the classroom. When you go to the market, try to speak in English. When you are with friends, try to use English. The more you use the language, the more fluent you become. I had a student who worked in a shop. He decided to challenge himself by speaking only in English with his customers. At first, it was difficult and a bit scary for him. But with time, he became so much more confident and fluent. But let's build on that with our next point. Fluency is also about being curious. When you hear a new word, don't ignore it. Be a language detective. Find out what it means and try to use it in your next conversation. I remember a student who was incredibly curious. Every time he heard a new word, he would ask me, "Sarah, what does that mean?" Then he would try to use that word as much as possible that day. His vocabulary grew very quickly, and so did his fluency. In addition to that, it is also important to have a goal. Ask yourself, why do I want to be fluent in English? When you have a clear, specific goal, you are much more motivated. I knew a student who wanted to travel to an English-speaking country to study art. This was her dream. Every day, she practiced speaking English because she wanted to be ready for her trip. Her clear goal kept her motivated through the difficult days, and she became fluent before she traveled. I also tell my students to enjoy the process. Fluency does not come overnight. It takes time. But if you can find joy in the journey, it becomes so much easier. I once had a student who loved watching English movies. He would watch one movie every single night. At first, he used subtitles in his own language. Then, he switched to English subtitles. And after a while, he started watching without any subtitles at all. He enjoyed the movies so much, and at the same time, he was dramatically improving his fluency. This brings us to our next important topic, repetition. The more you repeat something, the better you become. I remember a student who loved to repeat sentences. He would hear something interesting in class, and then he would say it to himself over and over again throughout the day. This helped him remember the sentences perfectly, and soon he was using them naturally in his daily conversations. Speaking with different people also helps with fluency. Every person has a different accent, a different speed, and a different way of speaking. When you talk to different people, you train your ear and you learn different styles of speaking. I once had a student who was very shy. He only ever spoke to me. I encouraged him to speak to other students in the class. At first, he was nervous. But with time, he became more comfortable. He learned new ways of expressing himself, and his fluency improved. A different approach that works wonders is to practice speaking about topics you love. When you talk about something you enjoy, like your favorite hobby or sport, you are more passionate, and the words come more easily. I had a student who loved football. Every day, he would talk to me about the latest football match. This helped him become more fluent because he was speaking with genuine excitement and energy. Furthermore, fluency also comes from understanding that it's okay to not know everything. Sometimes you may not know a word, and that is perfectly okay. As I mentioned before, you can try to explain it in another way. I had a student who always wanted to know the exact, perfect word for everything. If he didn't know the word, he would stop speaking and get frustrated. I told him, if you don't know the word, just try to describe it. Keep the conversation moving. This helped him stay calm when speaking, and he didn't worry so much about forgetting words. A student once asked me, "Teacher, how long will it take to become fluent?" I told him, it depends on how much you practice. Some people become fluent in a few months, while for others it takes longer. But the important thing is to keep going. Do not stop. This student practiced every single day, and soon he saw amazing progress. On top of that, it is helpful to practice in front of a mirror. When you see yourself speaking, you become more aware of your expressions and your gestures. I had a student who was very shy. She did not like to speak in front of others. I told her to practice in front of a mirror at home. This helped her become more confident, and soon she was speaking more in class. Another student asked me, "Teacher, what should I do if I forget a word while I'm speaking?" I told him, do not stop. Just keep talking. Sometimes the word will come to you later. If not, just use another word or describe the idea. This helped him stay calm when speaking. It is also important to take breaks. Sometimes your brain needs rest. After a long day of practice, it is good to relax. I knew a student who practiced all the time without any rest. She became very tired and started to feel frustrated. I told her, take a break. Relax. Come back tomorrow with a fresh mind. After taking breaks, she felt much better, and her fluency continued to improve. Let's explore another area, using the language in creative ways. You can write a short story, sing a song, or even make a short video in English. I had a student who loved to write. She would write short stories in English every day. This helped her practice new words and sentences. Soon, she started reading. Her stories aloud to her friends, and her fluency improved. A different strategy is to practice by teaching others. When you teach, you learn even more. I had a student who was very fluent. She decided to help her friends who were not as fluent. She would teach them new words and practice speaking with them. This not only helped her friends, but also made her own English even stronger. Sometimes it helps to have a routine. Set a time every day to practice speaking English. I had a student who would practice every morning for 30 minutes before he went to work. This was his routine. He followed it every day, and soon he became more fluent. A routine helps you stay disciplined and ensures that you practice regularly. What's more, it is also important to be patient with yourself. Fluency takes time. I had a student who was very impatient. He wanted to be fluent quickly. But when he did not see progress in 1 week, he became frustrated. I told him, be patient. You are making progress, even if it is slow. Every step counts. He listened to me and continued to practice. Over time, he saw great improvement and became more confident. This brings us to another important topic. Fluency is not just about speaking. It is also about listening. When you listen carefully, you learn how to respond. I had a student who was an excellent listener. He would listen carefully to every word before he spoke. This made his responses clear and thoughtful. Listening is a big part of becoming a fluent speaker. Another important thing is to stay positive. Learning a language can be challenging, but a positive attitude makes everything easier. I had a student who was always positive. Even when she made mistakes, she would just smile and try again. This positive attitude helped her stay motivated and eventually become fluent. Fluency is also about being open to new experiences. Sometimes, you may need to step out of your comfort zone. I had a student who was very comfortable speaking in class with me, but very shy outside of class. I encouraged her to go to a cafe and order her coffee in English. She was nervous at first, but she did it. And with time, she became more confident and fluent in real-world situations. It is also helpful to learn from others who are fluent. Watch how they speak, listen to their intonation, and learn from their style. I had a student who admired a famous English-speaking actor. She would watch his interviews and try to imitate his style of speaking. This helped her improve her own fluency and sound more natural. Fluency is a mix of many things: practice, patience, listening, speaking, and even making mistakes. Each part is important. I once told my students, fluency is like cooking a delicious meal. You need many different ingredients, a little bit of grammar, a lot of vocabulary, a cup of listening, a tablespoon of writing, and you need to mix them all together with patience and practice. This analogy helps them understand that every part of learning is important. Let's build on that with our next point. It is also important to celebrate your small victories. Every time you learn a new word or speak for 1 minute without hesitation, celebrate it. I had a student who would celebrate every small achievement. This made her feel proud and motivated her to keep going. Celebrating small victories helps you see your progress and stay motivated on your long journey. Point: one day, a student asked me, "Teacher, what if I get stuck while speaking?" I told him, it is okay to pause and think. Take a deep breath, and then continue. This advice helped him stay calm when he faced challenges while speaking. He learned to manage his pauses, and his fluency improved. Furthermore, fluency is also about practicing what you learn. If you learn a new word today, try to use it tomorrow. I had a student who would learn one new word every day and then make it his mission to use it in a sentence before the day ended. This practice helped him remember the words and use them naturally in conversation. Another important thing is to learn from your surroundings. Sometimes you can learn English from signs, posters, and even menus. I had a student who loved to explore the city. Every time he saw an English sign, he would read it and try to understand it. This helped him learn new words and phrases that he could use in his daily life. It is also helpful to be curious about the culture behind the language. English is spoken in many countries, and each country has its own unique way of speaking. I had a student who was very interested in British English. He would watch British shows and learn about their culture. This helped him understand different ways of speaking and made him more fluent and adaptable. Let's shift our focus now to body language. Fluency is not just about words, it is also about body language. When you speak, your body language adds meaning to your words. I had a student who was very good with body language. Even when he spoke simple sentences, his confident posture and gestures made him seem more fluent. This helped him communicate more effectively. Sometimes, it is good to challenge yourself. Try to speak about a topic you do not know well. This helps you learn new words and ideas. I had a student who loved sports, but he decided to challenge himself by talking about science. At first, it was difficult, but with time, he learned many new words and became more fluent in discussing different topics. In addition to that, fluency also comes from being relaxed. When you are relaxed, your words flow more easily. I had a student who was very tense when speaking. I told him to take deep breaths before he spoke. This simple technique helped him relax, and his fluency improved. A different approach that works wonders is by asking questions. When you ask questions, you start conversations. I had a student who was very good at asking questions. He would ask his classmates about their day, their hobbies, and their interests. This practice helped him become more fluent because he was always engaged in conversations. It is also important to reflect on your progress. Every few weeks, take a moment to think about how much you have improved. I had a student who kept a journal. Every week, he would write about his progress in learning English. This helped him see how far he had come and motivated him to keep going. What's more, fluency is also about being flexible. Sometimes you may need to change the way you say something to make it clearer. I had a student who was very good at this. If someone did not understand him, he would rephrase his sentence until they did. This skill made him a more effective communicator. Another important thing is to stay connected with other learners. When you learn with others, you can share your experiences and learn from each other. I had a student who joined an English club. Every week, she would meet with other learners and practice speaking. This helped her stay motivated and improve her fluency. It is also helpful to set small, achievable goals. Instead of saying, "I want to be fluent," say, "I want to learn 5 new words this week." I had a student who set small goals every week. These goals were easy to achieve, and each time she reached one, she felt more confident. Over time, these small goals added up, and she became more fluent. Moving on to another powerful strategy, you must be persistent. Even when it is difficult, do not give up. I had a student who struggled with English for a long time. He wanted to give up many times, but he kept going. One day, he realized that he was speaking more fluently than ever before. His persistence paid off. Sometimes, it is good to revisit what you have learned. Go back to old lessons and review them. I had a student who would review her notes every month. This helped her remember what she had learned and made her more confident in using the language. Another important thing is to stay open-minded. Sometimes you may hear different ways of saying the same thing. I had a student who was very curious about different dialects of English. He would learn how people from different places spoke. This made him more adaptable and fluent in different situations. Fluency also comes from enjoying the language. Find something you love in English, whether it is a book, a movie, or a song. I had a student who loved English poetry. She would read poems every day and try to understand them. This made her more passionate about the language and helped her become more fluent. It is also important to ask for feedback. When you speak, ask someone to tell you how you did. I had a student who would always ask me for feedback after speaking. This helped him see where he could improve and what he was doing well. Feedback is a valuable tool in becoming more fluent. A different approach that works wonders is by using flashcards. Write down new words on flashcards and review them regularly. I had a student who made flashcards for every new word he learned. He would review them every day. This helped him remember the words and use them in conversation. Fluency is also about being comfortable with silence. Sometimes you need a moment to think before you speak. I had a student who was afraid of silence. He thought he had to speak immediately. I told him it is okay to pause and think. This helped him feel more comfortable and speak more clearly. It is also helpful to learn phrases instead of just individual words. When you learn a phrase, you learn how words work together naturally. I had a student who focused on learning phrases. This made her sentences more natural and fluent. Furthermore, fluency is also about being curious about the world. When you learn about different cultures and ideas, you have more to talk about. I had a student who loved to learn about history, and he would share what he learned in English. The road to fluency is not always easy, but it is always rewarding. Just like a river flows steadily towards the ocean, your efforts will carry you closer to your goal. Fluency is not just about speaking with ease, but about connecting with the world and sharing your unique voice. Every word you learn, every sentence you speak, is a bridge to new understanding and new friendships. So keep learning, keep speaking, and let your voice be heard. And now, I have a question for you. What inspires you to keep going on your journey to fluency? I would love to hear your thoughts. Please like, share, and subscribe to the Wisdom English podcast channel to watch our next videos.